Welcome back, fight fans, to another episode of GTS Combat. And yo, it's your boy Jimmy, looking ahead to another highly anticipated fight. This one, I believe, is going to be on March 27th. It's UFC 260's scheduled co-main event between Alexander Volkanovski defending his featherweight belt against Brian T-City Ortega. Let's get into it. You got Alexander Volkanovski coming into this one, 22 wins, 1 loss, and that's 11-1 coming by a TKO or KO stoppage, and 3-0 coming by a submission, whilst you got Brian Ortega coming in at 15-1 and 1 no contest, and that breaks down into 3-1 coming via TKO or KO stoppage and 7-0 coming via submission. So both guys have never actually been submitted in their professional mixed martial arts career, whilst we know that is a big part of Brian Ortega's game, to sort of wear on people, break them down, let them kind of almost try to take him down, or he'll drag them to the mat and he'll get that submission finish. Whilst Alexander Volkanovski, whilst we've seen him in the UFC working his way up the featherweight rankings, beating the likes of Darren Elkins, Chad Mendes, Jose Aldo, and then Max Holloway twice to get the featherweight championship belt around his waist. A lot of his victories have come via decision, whether that be a split or unanimous decision. He hasn't really stopped too many people on his way to the belt. Obviously, he has got a few finishes on his record, but that was mainly before he came into the UFC. So the higher level of opposition he's getting, he is seeming like he's having to sort of game plan and just get to the final bell rather than actually look to stop and finish the fight himself. So stylistic wise, for that reason, I'm going to sort of go in on this and just sort of go out on a limb, and I'm going to predict Brian Ortega to be featherweight champion after March 27th, as long as this fight doesn't fall through and nothing happens to it with all the COVID shit we got going on, touch wood, so you can't blame me. But yeah, because you got Alexander Volkanovski, the shorter guy with a slightly longer reach, so it always is a bit strange when you got that. He's 5'6" with a 71-inch reach, compared to Brian Ortega, 5'8" with a 69-inch reach. Sorry, I have got some notes there if you guys didn't know that, and I have got flash on, so I'm a bit blinded. This is what happens when you start filming and there's shit lighting. But anyway, so yeah, stylistically, I feel like Brian Ortega's got the tools to defeat someone like Alexander Volkanovski. We saw an improved striking game from Brian Ortega against Chan Sung Jung in his last fight against the Korean Zombie, and I'll be honest, I was pretty much backing Korean Zombie going into that fight, thinking Ortega's been out for a while since his loss to Max Holloway, a bad loss. You know, he was on quite a tear coming into the UFC, leading up to that fight with Max Holloway. Hadn't lost prior to that, and it was quite, you know, it was quite a not detrimental, but quite a devastating loss. You know, 4th round, couldn't come off his stool, finished the fight. That was it. Just called it in the corner. He was quite bust up, and we hadn't seen him for quite a while after that. So I was backing Korean Zombie to go in there and just sort of walk him down and get the victory, throw some big bombs, and he wasn't able to do that. Brian Ortega stopped the Korean Zombie in his tracks, and he got the victory, and that's led him to this fight with Alexander Volkanovski, the current featherweight champion. And I believe Brian Ortega is going to just sort of it's going to play out pretty. I'm not going to say it's going to be sort of an all-out brawl from the get-go. I don't see that happening. I believe it's going to be quite a technical fight, so it's going to go into a bit of more of the later rounds. I don't see it finishing early in the first or anything like that. So I would say the first 2 rounds, both guys are going to feel each other out a bit. There's going to be some technical striking, shall we say. Maybe the odd takedown thrown in there from Volkanovski just to try and mix it up. Brian Ortega, I don't really see him shooting for the takedown. He kind of just wears on his opponent until they try to take him down, and then that's where he'll tie them up with his jiu-jitsu game, because he knows they're panicking. The fact that they're trying to take him down tells him that they're falling in confidence. Their confidence is diminishing. The fact that they are panicking and shooting for a takedown against a decorated jiu-jitsu guy like Brian Ortega, you don't want to do that. And Volkanovski, even though he does have some fairly good technical stand-up striking, like we saw against Max Holloway, where he was kind of just able to point score throughout the fight, he does have a very good wrestling game also that he likes to fall back on. He likes to sort of wear people down as well, drag them to the mat and just sort of grind them out, wear them out even, you know, tire them out throughout the fight. So then it makes it easier for him, I suppose. But is he really going to try wear down and take down a Brian Ortega? I don't believe so. So I think Alexander Volkanovski coming into this fight is going to try make this a stand-up battle. He's going to try keep it on the feet. He isn't going to shoot on Brian Ortega himself unless he's really hurt. I feel like even though the reach isn't there for Ortega, he has a slight advantage on the height. That if he can just sort of pick Volkanovski off himself, almost like the way he was fighting against the Korean Zombie, then I believe he'll get this victory. From the Brian Ortega I've seen against Korean Zombie, I think he has the skills and the abilities to defeat Alexander Volkanovski. I haven't seen anything crazily impressive from Volkanovski. That's probably what it is. When he fought Jose Aldo, I just felt like Jose Aldo didn't throw. He became gun shy. So I wasn't really giving any mad credit to Volkanovski on that fight. I just felt like Jose Aldo just didn't do anything. So it was easy for him. If anything, Volkanovski probably should have went at him a bit more and got the finish. Put a stamp on it, you know what I mean? But he just didn't. And then obviously there was the first win against Holloway that I did believe he deserved. But then the second one I was watching it edging towards Holloway. It was a hard decision, but I thought Holloway had it. I'm not going to call it a mad robbery. It annoyed me at the time because I just cashed out of a bet that I thought was losing and it ended up winning. So I was pretty pissed. But, you know, I was not in the impression that was... I thought Max Holloway won that fight. But I'm not going to argue it otherwise. They gave it to Volkanovski, so he's still got the belt. So he's beat Holloway twice. But again, like I said, we've never seen anything that's just like... that really makes me blown away. Whilst Holloway in his last performance against Calvin Kattar blew me away. Brian Ortega against the Korean Zombie, he came back and he just looked phenomenal. So for that reason, I'm saying Ortega's just going to keep stepping up the levels and he's going to beat Alexander Volkanovski. And I'm going for a third round submission. Just because. Third or fourth round submission. But I'm going to actually give my official prediction with a... No, my official prediction is going to be a fourth because Volkanovski does have a gas tank. He was a big dude. You've seen him previously when he was in his rugby days. The geezer was like 200 and something pounds for 5'6". He was a meaty dude, so I believe he has some power on him. I believe that's what some guys feel. I feel like Volkanovski has some strength within him, and when these guys feel it, they get a bit intimidated maybe that this little dude is so strong. But if Ortega can control the fight, control the pace of the fight, control where the fight takes place, and I believe he has the skills and capabilities to do so against Alexander Volkanovski, then into the later rounds, when he is still controlling it and dominating, I believe Volkanovski may start to think, I'm losing it, I need to do something. And maybe he may shoot for a takedown for whatever reason. Not that that's going to get him the victory in any way. I'm not believing that. I don't see Volkanovski shooting a takedown and getting a victory. But in the moment, he may try to get a takedown. And I believe with the panic and the tiredness kicking in, Brian Ortega will secure and latch onto a submission in the fourth round. That's my official prediction. Fourth round submission victory for Brian Ortega to win the Featherweight Championship belt of the UFC and probably line up that rematch with Max Holloway. That would make an interesting storyline, you know, that would be the selling point going into it, because Max Holloway losing to Volkanovski twice, one of them being very controversial. Ortega beating Volkanovski, but then he's got to fight the guy who's given him his only loss on his record in Max Holloway as his first title defense. That's what I'm going with. That's what I believe is going to happen. That's what I can foresee in the future. I've been your boy Jimmy. This has been GTS Combat. Like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let me know your predictions in the comment section below. Till next time.